Hello, everyone. So, welcome to the ninth meetup of software testing board. So, this is what going to be our agenda. First, I'm going to explain about what is this meetup and how to share a comment, question, or a feedback. After that, we are going to have a talk by our speakers. So, first talk is on introduction to Selenium Java by Sujit. Second is about introduction on Selenium C Sharp by Yogesh, and third is introduction to DevOps by Kishore. So after that, I'm going to explain about going to introduce about software testing boards question answer site and other meetup site, and also how to be a speaker at the next meetup, and how to subscribe to our YouTube channel and contact us page where you can there are various options you can contact us. So first of all, what is this meetup about? So this meetup is a completely online meetup. So earlier we used to have physical meetup where people will used to come and uh, we gather at the physical location and discuss about the different uh, tools and technologies and frameworks in the testing industry. But then we found that commute and reserving the spot is a very challenging part. So that's why we came up with the idea of having it completely online. So this meetup we organize it every fourth Saturday of the month at 5 p.m. IST, and through this meetup we try to introduce a new tools framework uh, that different people are working on inside the testing industry. Also, you can share your idea with us about testing, uh, idea with the testing community related to software testing. So if you have any question or any comment or any feedback or anything, you will see a live chat box next to your YouTube video, or if you're using mobile phone, you will see beneath your YouTube video, and you can post your question over there. And I'll iterate that question to the speaker, and speaker will be able to answer your question live once after they're done with their presentation. So today's first talk is by Sujit. So Sujit is a certified Scrum Master, and he's a strategic test lead right now, and he's working as a senior tester at UST Global. This is his LinkedIn profile, which is linked in this presentation. So if you have any question related to uh, his talk, so today's his talk is about Selenium introduction to Selenium Java, introduction to Selenium Java, and if any question related to it, you can ask him or get in touch with him through LinkedIn. Sujit, over to you. You can take over and you can ask a question. You can present your.
Thanks, Mayur, and hello, Software Testing Board community. Welcome today's meet for the different technologies that we are going to present every fourth Saturday. Today, I'm going to take you through the Selenium basic level. Why I selected the basic? Very recently, we were trying to hire few automation test folks, and I felt that people are working on Selenium, but they are lacking in the knowledge of the basics. So let's begin, and we see that what actually Selenium is and what it is capable to do and how it do. So we'll see all these the proprietary and the information about Selenium through my presentation. So I'm expecting that this will be useful for all of you. In fact, all of us, including me, and your all feedback is really welcome.
Sujit, thank you. And can you share your screen?
Yeah. So today, like in my Selenium basics, I will be covering the architecture of Selenium because this is a very important for any learner or any other folks who is new in Selenium or having a bit experience in Selenium. You should know about architecture, that how Selenium calls internally, and then we'll see that Selenium parts like in IDE, WebDriver, and Selenium Grid. This is again a very important, and then the locators technique, that how to locate the element through Selenium. And then we'll see that how to invoke the browsers and the logic behind this the calling this browser, because you can copy paste the browser's calling method from internet, but you should know the logic. Once you know the logic, you can design your framework, you can design your logic by your own. And then we see what is test ng, and some we'll again we do a hands-on with automate a login page, and then finally we have a question and answer. So in between, if you are having any question, you please raise the hand. So this is the architecture of Selenium. Here you can see it is the language binding. So Selenium supports Python, Java, Ruby, C Sharp, and JavaScript. So these are the language binding which Selenium supports, and we are having a Selenium server. So when you go seleniumhq.com, the Selenium official website, you must download the Selenium server in order to run the Selenium applications. So this Selenium server basically listen to the code or listen to the command through JSON wire protocol, and command is coming in form of Java code, or might be the Python code or Ruby code or C Sharp, whichever language you are proficient or you like it. And then this server have the command from the your language, from your code, and now it transferring these codes to the HTTP with to this browsers with the HTTP request. Remember, we are not using HTTPS. If sometime in interview or anywhere it is asked, then you must say that we are supporting HTTP. So these requests are being served to the browser, actual browser. Uh, Selenium supports Safari, Firefox, Chrome, IE, and Opera. So there is no other browser are Selenium supported by Selenium. And another thing is Selenium supports some headless where there is no GUI. Your code will run in background and you will see just output. So that's a different story. We'll see later on. But in today's agenda, we see that Selenium is basically invoking all this browser through the browser drivers. So when we visit seleniumhq.com, sorry, are you able to see my screen on Chrome?
No, we are seeing only the presentation.
Okay. Yeah. So when you go, are you able to see my now Chrome browser?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so while you begin the Selenium, you must visit the seleniumhq.com. This is the .org. This is the official website by Selenium, or your entire Java document, your entire jars are located here. So you can download the previous releases, you can download the latest version. So download latest version, it is going 3.1.3.14, but I would suggest you should use the earlier stable version. Go one or two version earlier, which is stable, because this is new. So there might be some new implementation or some revoke some earlier modules. So that will be again a confusion. So rather go with earlier one or two. So 3.12 is something stable. If you go here previous releases, you can have Selenium history. So you can see 3.12, 3.13, 3.14. So Selenium having a very good practice to host entire earlier downloadable files. So if I click here 3.12, I'm having IE driver, I'm having Selenium.NET, HTML runner, Java, server standalone, this one. So this Selenium server standalone is the server that we are talking about, which listen to your Java codes and transfer the command to the browser. So basically we need this Java code to this Java jars to support the Java language. And then this server who can transmit and listen to your code, and then we need the Selenium browser drivers. So we may use IE driver or Chrome driver based on the interest. Since the majority of the web market is being occupied by the Chrome, so Chrome is very popular with Selenium. So on this Selenium HQ, if you scroll down, you will see Mozilla Gecko driver, Chrome driver, Opera, and the other browsers that are being supported by the Selenium. Primarily, we use Google Chrome a lot, and then Mozilla, and then this Microsoft Edge and IE. But around 90% market they use Google Chrome. So if I click on Google Chrome, it says that latest release is Chrome driver 2.4.2. And so if you click here, download version is there. So for Windows, either you are having 62-bit, 64-bit or 32-bit, you have only one driver, that is Chrome driver win32.zip. This is having .exe file inside a zip. So we need this zip file in order to run the Chrome browser in your system. Remember, Chrome browser is installed on your machine. So how Selenium jars interacts with your installed Chrome with this Chrome driver. So basically, this driver is the main, you can say the driver which drives actual Chrome browser on the machine. If I come back and so we have seen that where is the server, where is the language binding, and where is the .exe file for these browsers. So let me repeat again because this is very critical concept. This is language binding, which takes your Java code, which you write in Eclipse or NetBeans or any other editor. This code is being transferred to Selenium server. This Selenium server then listen to your code, and this gives command to the browser through .exe file that you have downloaded. And then browser is return the response that yes, browser is open or whatever action you are being performing. So Selenium having a history that Selenium has started earlier with IDE. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. So earlier Selenium was having a record and playback. So again they have come back with another version. You may search in Chrome Market or in Firefox Marketplace. You will get the Selenium IDE with some updates. So this IDE basically records whatever the action you are performing on your browser, and then you can replay, you can edit some code and you can replay. This is not used as much because this is now deprecated. This was deprecated and come back again. People are not using much. The most famous form of Selenium that is popular is WebDriver. WebDriver Selenium 3.0, which is having much more capability than of IDE. You can design your own code, you can write your own code, you can have lots of logic inside driver. And then it is grid. Grid is something we use when we do the parallel testing. So Selenium is automating your web application. So when it is web application, we can have the web application running on multiple browser. So how we ensure that your application runs in Chrome perfectly and in Mozilla perfectly and Safari perfectly, and how where is the issue? So rather we will test in each browser manually. It was difficult because invoking same browser and same functionality in 5 browsers takes much time, and time consuming, quality cannot be guaranteed. Selenium have an excellent solution in the form of grid. So Selenium WebDriver is the most powerful popular tool for Selenium family. The WebDriver extends its support to many latest browser and platform. So Selenium IDE earlier was supporting just Mozilla Firefox. Now it came for Chrome also, but it was majorly for the Firefox. It means that for recording any browser activity, you must log into the Mozilla, I guess, open the Mozilla browser and do the action. Chrome was not there. Either IE was also not there. WebDriver makes direct call to the web browser, and entire test script is executed in this fashion. So WebDriver uses the browser's support and capability to automate. We'll see that how WebDriver actually invokes to the browser. We see in our coming some 5 to 10 minutes. I will show you. And then Selenium WebDriver drives the browser much more effectively than of IDE, because IDE was just focusing on Firefox. Chrome browser rendering engine is something different than of Mozilla, than of IE. So the recording IDE was doing only for the Mozilla. When we play in Chrome, might be not guaranteed that it will play in the same fashion or not. So IDE was deprecated after the popularity of Chrome. And Selenium Grid is the part of Selenium suite that enable the running multiple tests across different browser in different OS and different machine. So this is, I must say that Selenium Grid is having the capability to run, say, sometime our machine uh, is running on Mac, maybe on Linux, or maybe on Windows. So either you, when you are writing and executing the script on your machine, you can use either one of any OS. But what happens when you want to test your code to different OS with a single click? That is the grid. That is the capability of grid. So grid is having very vast that life. We'll see in upcoming webinar if the grid can be taken by. For today, like we will not cover grid as much. Just I am giving you introduction that what grid is capable of. And grid reduces the time to test application on diversified environment. It means that Linux, your RAM, your browser version, everything is doesn't cared by grid. Grid is much more powerful. And how Selenium, we begin with Selenium. So Selenium, basically we first set up the environment. Remember guys, one very core and thumb rule for the Selenium, Selenium does exactly what you do manually. We say Selenium is an automation tool, but Selenium does the manual task. It means what we do when we suppose test google.com. So how we do? We first launch the browser, then we click on the address bar and we type www.google.com, and then we hit enter button, and then the page appears. Then we check whether it is google.com pages or not. So this is the manual step, and the same step is being performed by the automation. It is not doing anything extra, just little set of code, that's all. So Selenium, to begin with Selenium, you must need the Java binding, you must need the Eclipse to run the Java code. When you are practicing with Java, when you in C Sharp, you guys will cover up in some time. For my sake, I'm covering with Java. You need the Java, you need the Eclipse or any other IDE, and you need the Selenium server. That's all. So this is a code where you can see the I have launched. I have created a class that is launch browsers.
Hey Sujit, we can still see your presentation. So are you showing
Mhm.
any?
No, no, I'm saying this presentation. I will show you hands-on in some time post this.
Okay.
So I'm having a code that is a public class launch browser, which is a class I created in Eclipse in Java, where I have declared a web driver. So web driver is basically a interface. Web driver is basically an interface. And
Are you sorry for interruption? Are you still showing that architecture of Selenium slide, or you're on
no,
different
no,
slide?
I'm sharing my different like presentation next to that.
Because we are seeing your old presentation, so there is some. If you
Okay,
want to.
just 1 minute. Oh, yes. Let me share.
Okay, so while you change this, we have a couple of questions from the users. Do you want to take it up?
Yes, yes, sure.
So there is a question from Bikrant Singh. He's asking, does TestNG is required for Selenium, or we can work without it?
See, test-ng is not required in to run the Selenium. You can work on, but with test-ng it will ease your execution. Test-ng is basically a next form of JUnit. JUnit was doing by the unit testing by developer. In test-ng, you are doing testing with development and testing. So test-ng is much more powerful add-on, I can say, that having a very best feature, like it will execute your code in certain order. It will execute your code as per the priority. It will generate a report that cannot be generated by Selenium doesn't generate any report. It simply run the code, but to run the code you must generate a report to show your management or to show your lead. Test engine having a capability, it generate reports, so that's why it is popular. free, and the plus add-on it is free.
So it's more of like a flexible testing tool, like test management tool, we can say.
It is an
That
add-on. It is an add-on
add-on.
of Eclipse. Yeah, yeah. I'll show you that how we do it, Celine, and like in TestNG. I'll show you now.
Sure. And
So can you see my presentation? Launch the browser.
okay.
Can you see here?
Yes. 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 We can see that.
Okay, so this is a basic set of Selenium code. In this code, what I said you that Selenium does the exact manual task. It means it opens the Chrome browser, it type your address, it clicks on enter button, it launches the browser. That's all. So we are doing the same thing here. We are giving system.set property. It means we are enabling and we are saying that we need Chrome browser for our execution. Next, this is a statement where that Java code is there. Next, that driver.get, we are passing the URL, which URL I want. And then there's a next line that with this, the Chrome will launch your google.com in Chrome. Sorry, Selenium will launch the google.com inside your Chrome browser. I will show you the practical that how it does and will explain bit. This is the program you can see, and browser you can see the c chrome driver.exe. Once we pass chrome driver.exe, actually this is the extension or dot executable file that is provided by the Google family, which is used in Selenium to interact or to invoke the real Chrome browser installed on your machine. It means Chrome is installed on your machine, how Selenium interacts that. So this is the medium Chrome driver. So let's see that how it works. Guys, can you see my Eclipse window?
Yes, we can see that.
Okay, great. So what I did, this is a very basic, like I created a class that is simply in Eclipse. You just right click on file, new, and create a project. The project you can select Java project, click next, a project will be created. Then what I did, I created a package. I click on SRC, right click, and then create a new package. I given the name as a WebDriver. So here I can give WebDriver 1. So new package will be created. Package is basically a folder where your entire .class file or .java file is stored. And then inside this package, I click right click and then class file. That's all here. So I just created a class. See, main, if you are not using TestNG, I'm using here TestNG, you can see here, I'm using TestNG. But if you're not using TestNG, now you have to use the existing core Java features. Core Java means you have to have a main method because execution begins with main. And then your entire coding should be inside this main. So it is like it is sometimes difficult for you to call a method, to call any method, you need to invoke the object, you have to create an object of this class. So that was like tedious task, and the order was not guaranteed that which order I am willing to execute it. Rather, you might have seen the Java class. Let me focus you on TestNG, that why TestNG is used. So TestNG having a annotations. A valid test says that this is a method which is for the test intention that I will be testing this method. So my first method is I want to launch my Chrome browser. So let me write a method. Public is a modifier. Return type is void because I'm just launching the browser. And I'm saying that Chrome browser. So I have to import the test and the annotation here. So as in presentation, I've shown you that WebDriver is basically an interface. So we have to import the WebDriver to our this Java code, because WebDriver having written every method that how to launch the browser, how to click on the browser, how to check that which element is there on page or not, and how to get different methods are written in WebDriver. So we must have to import WebDriver at first. So I'm just calling WebDriver now. So public web driver. So driver is an object of type web driver. So see, when I write web driver, it is asking to import web driver, and this comes from OpenQA.Selenium family. So now my driver is the object type of web driver. So this driver is having capability to launch browser, to work on browser, to work on many functionalities that browser supports. Let's begin. As I said you that first we have to launch browser, then we have to give the address of google.com, then we verify whether google.com appeared or not. For that, very first it is, first of all, I'm giving the system.set property, which uh, the system.set property basically set a property that I want Chrome browser. I'm informing my operating system through my this server that I need Chrome browser. So they are having a ready-made code. You may remember or you may understand and you may design it. It's a web driver.
Hey Sujit,
Yes,
sorry for disturbing. So we have a couple of questions. Do you want to take it up?
yes, yes, sure.
Okay, so first question is from Anand. He's asking, is it Selenium server only or uh, browser driver? Like, when you're downloading the when you told us in previous screen that we need a browser driver. So only browser driver is sufficient, or we need Selenium server as well to run the code?
Yeah, yeah. For that, let me share you the architecture. So can you see the architecture?
Yes.
Vikrant have the question, right? Vikrant.
It's Anand. Anand.
Anand, okay. Anand, if you see the architecture, you are writing the code in Java, and this Java code is being sent to the your Selenium server through JSON wire protocol. So this Selenium server having your Java code, your browser is located here. So how browser will understand that what is Java code? So there should be must be interpreter or there must be some conversion, right? So Selenium server is a powerful jar, a powerful application for, if I say in broad way, this server basically transfer your Java code to the server, because server is this this browser understand the your command in different way. Maybe like system.out.println is a Java code, but your browser will not understand this code because browser understand .click .get. So how your browser gets invoked on how your browser actually works as per your code guidance, like whatever you guided the code, how browser follow that. That's why Selenium server is required. So once Selenium server is required, see this Chrome browser is installed on your machine. Selenium server you are downloading from the Selenium official website. So there is no directly linkage between your Selenium server and your this installed Chrome driver. So there must be a interpreter is required who actually invoke your this Chrome browser which is installed on your machine. So for that reason, we need Chrome driver.exe, that is a browser.exe, that just for the invoking the browser. If you want to invoke Chrome browser, go download the Chrome driver.exe. If you want to invoke Opera browser, go invoke opera.exe, or Firefox is something gecko driver.exe. So depending on your browser, just if you understand the logic, it will be easy. Let me explain again. These browsers are installed on your machine standalone. It means separately you have installed this in your machine. Selenium server is a server you have downloaded on the machine. So basically there is no relation or there is no linkage or there is no API call between your this server and this browser. To interpret your code from this server to browser, we need an intermittent caller or .exe file which actually invoke this browser. For that reason, we need a Chrome driver.exe. So I hope it is clear. Uh,
Yes, we
Vikas.
got a thank you note from him. So thank you for the present. Thank you for the explanation.
Thanks, Vikas. Let me come back with the code. So this is system.set property. I've given the web driver chrome.driver. This is something a standalone that we have to write it. And then next we have to give the path of the driver exe file we have downloaded. Remember, actually Chrome driver when you install from Google, it is around 60 or 70 MB. But when you downloaded the Chrome driver, intermittent driver, which is actually invoking the real browser, this size is hardly 2 or 3 MB. What I did, I downloaded and I kept inside this executable. So what I do, in some cases you see always when you are like copy paste the, 1 minute, let me copy the path of the browser driver. So now I'm discussing something important. If you can see, it will be easy and like as usually this content is not described anywhere. In many sites and in many people, if you see this browser, whenever we give this path of browser, we give the double quote because single quote is being understood in different way by Java. So to differentiate, this is not a code like slash n is a new line. So single slash is being replaced by double slash so that it is not a literal. So whatever single slash I have given the double. Now it is fine. Either you give double slash or you may give the backward slash. Both are working fine. Both will work fine. Sorry. Now, what I did with this line of code, I have asked that in the system, I want the property of Chrome driver, and Chrome driver is located on this path.exe. With this line, my Chrome driver is now alert that I am going to receive some command. So let me create a Chrome driver instance. So this is the web driver. Driver is equal to new Chrome driver. Okay. Remember, guys, that Chrome basically web driver is an interface. So we have written here web driver is equal to driver is equal to new Chrome driver. I have not written web driver is equal to new web driver because this driver will be the object of Chrome driver type. This is web driver is interface. Interface do not have any object. This driver will be the object of Chrome driver type because Chrome driver is a type of class, but web driver is an interface. So we write web driver is equal to new Chrome driver. So in any interview, if this is asked, please explain that web driver is an interface. So interface cannot have any object. So we write web driver is equal to new Chrome driver. So with this line of code, my Chrome browser is getting invoked. Now I am passing my URL. So this driver object is now having capability of launch Chrome browser. It will launch Chrome browser. So I'm giving the capability that please launch me the page http google.com. Remember, if you not give the http, it will not understand your code because the protocol it needs that which protocol you are calling. I'm calling with http or https, whatever, but this is mandatory to have. With this line of code, I'm able to launch my browser. Let's see that whether browser is being launched or not. No, there's some error. Are you able to see the error? Guys, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay. So it's saying that the okay, let's see. Yes, if you do like one thing I would ask you that please practice, because if you learn Selenium from anywhere, if you're not going to do practice, possibly you will be not learning. These concepts are looking very easy, that nothing is there, but without practice it will be very difficult. And sometime when you practice you will get the error. See, this is my intentional error. This error will say java.lang illegal state exception, the driver executable file does not exist at this path. So with this, I got an error. So with this error, I will be modifying my script in something different way. Possibly, I will be learning more. So without practice, I will be not encounter any error. So I request you that please practice. It will be very helpful for you. So it is saying that my Chrome driver is not on this location. Let me correct it where it is. Meanwhile, if you have any question, you can ask me while I get the driver.
Can you just go to this location and find out if this driver exists into eDrive automation browser driver? Just go to this location and you can just check it out.
Okay, let me. Uh, Let me show you that our best part for the better understanding. What is the best way we can do? Whenever you download the Chrome driver.exe, copy it and paste in your project hierarchy. You can see the executable here. What I did, I created like simply on your project, create a folder and write the folder name as a browser driver. In browser driver, what I will do, I will paste my Chrome driver. Can you see here, Chrome driver? Can you see my screen, team Mayur?
Yes, we can see that, and we can see the Chrome driver
Yes.
there.
What I did, I created a browser driver folder inside my project so that if driver is anywhere on my system, I will be not worried. I know in my project hierarchy and project structure, my browser is located here. So now if you click here, you'll get a property, you will get it. The path is Selenium WebDriver browser Chrome drive. So you can see the path. Let me write this too.
There is another way we can do it. You can just right click on this Chrome driver.exe file, go to its property, and you can copy the path to that.
Yeah. So this is the path where my Chrome drive is located. So what I did, I copy pasted here. Single slash. First, let me see the double slash. Then I'll show you the single slash. Okay, next Chrome driver. Fine, perfect. Done. Let me see now launching the browser. Again, it's on the error. Let me see what is the error. The driver executable does not exist on this path. Oh, I guess might be it is corrupted or let me download once again. So might be this get corrupted due to some antivirus scan and all. Meanwhile, you can ask question.
Yes. So the question is from Ravi Teja. He's asking, like, Selenium does Selenium WebDriver support globalization testing, like different culture, concurrency, and date format, etc.?
Yeah, Selenium WebDriver supports. Just one. So Selenium actually supports entire web application testing. So when you are talking about the your localization, basically in localization, what you test, you will test language, you will test some currency or some other image might be. Selenium is having a capability of assertion is a class where you can check that what was expected and what is appearing. I mean that if I am opening google.com in Canada, my URL says that it is google.co.ca. So what I do, I can get my URL and I'll compare whether CA is there or not. If it is .in, it means I'm in India. If .ca, it means I'm in Canada. So Selenium having a power that it check that whether your browser is invoking the site, it is having what all properties. So whatever web things you can assume, everything is possible with Selenium. Earlier, there was challenge with CAPTCHA and OTP and image processing. So now Selenium can do those part also. But having little twist is there, but Selenium is able to do that.
So basically, Selenium is just a browser automation tool. Okay. So anything like, you do activity on a Selenium, it can be automated through whatever manual activity you do on browser, that can be automated using Selenium, if I'm not wrong.
Exactly. Whatever you do manually, Selenium will do on behalf of you.
Okay. So second question is from Shreyansh Jain. He's asking, why don't we write a main method in case of a test ng?
Okay. So, Shreyans, must be like you will be knowing main is a method where the Java executes, like Java begins execution. So now what I'm using the test engine that is a different logic than of earlier conventional main method. So if I'm using the test engine with main, the execution engine will get confusion that which part to execute, which part to not execute, and how to begin execution. Say for example, I'm having in the multiple test method where test is having the priority say 0, like I want this test to occur at first, and then we have main. So now compiler will get confused that which part I need to execute first. Like I'm just saying for the broad so that you may understand, since this is for the beginner level. So and the question is needs some bit scanning and bit some experience to understand. I'm saying in very layman term.
So basically, what we understood here is that uh, main method is just an entry point for any program. In case of test ng, there are already entry points, like at the rate test is already an entry point. So one program doesn't require multiple entry points. So that's why in
Exactly.
case of test ng, we don't write main method.
Exactly, because test ng at the date test says that I need to. Can you able to see my Eclipse window by the
We are seeing your Chrome driver
Chrome tablet?
window.
Okay, so I downloaded it meanwhile, and let me show you. Shreyans, I guess I have answered your question. Still, you are having. You may ask. So basically, what I did, I downloaded and I put under the Chrome driver dot browser driver. Sorry, it is the browser driver. So name is bit browser driver. Okay. Shreyans, I guess I have answered your query. Please, now I will execute this. So my Selenium code understand that this method I need to execute at first. If I write the main method, my interpreter and my compiler will get really confused at how to begin execution because main having a different priority set. Same method. And Java begins execution with main, and now testng begins execution with testng. So this is a collision between testng and main, and we will get some error. So either do not fight in the internal error. Use testng. Do not use main because testng is much more powerful than earlier main method. That's why it got popularity and it is using widely in Selenium world. Basically, let me explain you the code what I did. I just have the Chrome browser. I set the property. I set webdriver.chrome.driver. With this, I have given the property of this driver with the Chrome, and then I given the executable file path of Chrome driver. My Chrome driver is existing here, and then I created a webdriver equal to new Chrome driver, which says that this driver is having the capability of this Chrome driver. Remember, it will not execute Mozilla. It will open the Chrome driver, and then I will ask that please give me the google.com, and finally once you launch, let me comment dot close so that it will not close now. Let me run it. Can you see here my so execution console? It is saying that Chrome driver this opening on this local connection is allowed on this time and all. Can you see here it passed Chrome browser?
Yes. So can you show us your Chrome open?
Yeah, let me, because this is opening a different window. So let me show you my desktop complete.
So
Okay, so
meanwhile, there are a few questions that I see here. Maybe we can just take it up later.
okay, so can you see the this was? If let me run again, and I guess it will be giving more clarity if I run it again. So
Sure.
now I'm running it again, saying the remote test ng is detected, test ng version, this is the version, and you can see one browser is coming up. Can you see one Chrome browser?
Yes, we can.
It is saying that Chrome is being controlled by the automated test software.
Right. You can see that. Thank
So
you.
this is that because we are running the, see now Chrome is having very intelligent power engine. So it detecting that Chrome is being opened by our Chrome driver.exe that we have started. We have not started Chrome with native Chrome clicking. We have started with the Chrome driver.exe. So it is saying that it is controlled by the automated test software. So there is a provision that we can remove this provision we can remove here. So this is saying this is called as a information bar of the browser. So if we write in our code that disable info bar, it will be disabling it. To do so, we have to just write it that please disable, we say there's a different logic. uh, Chrome driver, we say Chrome options. I mean, this is we have to make the profiling. Basically, we have to make a profile of Chrome browser. In this profile, I will say that please do not display the this browser bar, and it will not be displayed. Meanwhile, any question, Mayur, till now?
Yes, we have a few more questions. Driver is an object. How, like, driver is an interface? Then how do you call it as an object?
See, web driver is an interface, but this driver is an object. Web driver is an interface. This
Yes.
web driver, can you see here? I hover my mouse. It is say I. If you see here I,
Hmm.
it means this is interface. So this interface having extension with in the form of driver. So they say that driver is an variable of type web driver. Since web driver is much more capable, all entire methods like get, dot click, dot send, like lots of methods are defined in this web driver. So with this extension, like let me tell you logic. With this statement, we are giving this driver variable with the power of all web driver. It means the all web actions I am giving power. And in this second line here, I am giving this driver with all Chrome browsers property, that how to launch Chrome browser, what all actions is needed in Chrome. This is, so if next time if I launch Mozilla, simply I say that system, instead of this system.set property Chrome, I will write here that for Mozilla it is that Gecko driver, and then we have to write here the Gecko driver.exe.
Yeah, provided that it is downloaded.
Yeah. So with this property and with this property, we can see here what will happen. Let me show you. In the first statement, I am, see, my web driver is interface and variable of is a driver which is having now power of entire web actions. In our line 17 code, I am invoking my Chrome driver, and this driver object I am giving the property of Chrome driver, so that Chrome browser can perform the action of all the method that are defined in WebDriver interface. See, WebDriver interface, so method is just defined, you can use it, that's all. So this driver will use entire WebDriver method in Chrome driver, like driver.get. We don't know that how, what is the definition of this method. We are just using it because driver driver dot get, and we are just giving that google.com check. So with this statement, what I am doing, I am launching this page inside the Chrome, and I can perform all the actions that is defined inside this web driver. Web driver is having the actions like driver.quit method in web driver. It is .get method which open the browser, .maximize which maximize the browser, .quit which will quit the browser. So these all methods are defined inside this web driver. So this driver will not understand these methods inside the Chrome browser. That this get method what to do. Without this, probably it will not understand. If I remove this and I give here driver.get, now see, let me run it and see the error. What we are getting. Did I save it?
Okay, so there are a few more questions while this
Yes, please.
execution goes on.
I guess
So
it is showing some earlier instance. Yeah, yeah. Tell me.
so again, it's the same question. Like I would like to club two questions from Sriyansh and
Mhm.
Samir. So they're asking like, uh, okay. So the question is, can you explain WebDriver driver equal to new Chrome driver? So uh, can I take a liberty to quickly explain this?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Please.
so a WebDriver is an interface, and all other classes, right, like Chrome driver, Firefox driver, and IE driver, all the Opera driver, everything is a class which implement the WebDriver interface and many other interfaces. So what we can do is we can declare WebDriver driver equal to new Chrome driver. So what happens is it will create an object. It will create a new object of the type WebDriver, which is implementation that are defined inside the Chrome driver. Same way, I can say WebDriver driver equal to Firefox driver and WebDriver driver equal to Internet Explorer driver. So all these are classes which are implementing the common interface called WebDriver. That's why we are able to define WebDriver driver equal to new Chrome driver. So this will be part of OOPS concept. If you understand the OOPS concept very well, it will be much more easier to understand that what's happening here. So I hope that answer the question for
Uh,
Sriyansh and Samir.
Thanks, Mayur, for the helping hand.
Yep.
Yeah.
And next question I have it is from uh, okay, Bikram Singh. That is a very interesting question. Like TestNG has its own report, so can we modify it as per our requirement?
See, TestNG is generating a report, a generic report. And for reporting stuff, once you grow in with Selenium, there are different reporting mechanisms are there, like report ng, extent reports are now very famous. Allure report is there. So those reportings you can integrate in Selenium because they are just a jar and some method you have to call up, and the reports will be very nicely like presented. Especially like I'm big fan of extent report. If you see the reporting and all, I do not have in my this system. If I could show you, but extent report is really nice. I would highly encourage that if you are cared for the reports, then please use extent report. The extent 3.15, I guess, is the latest version in market, so you can use that. Test ng will generate a default set of report that is still enough for many clients, but still if you want some beautification, some customization, then please use extent report.
Okay, that's a great answer. Thank you. Uh, Thank you, Sujit. So there is another question that I would like to take it up from Divya. She says, like, can you explain, please, how to pass a Google CAPTCHA code using Selenium? So first of all, Divya, that's a great question, and that is a common question that everybody asks in the community. So let me explain that. The Google CAPTCHA's main motto is to prevent the uh,
Robot
automation,
attacks.
robot attacks and
Automation.
automation.
Yeah.
So if so automating that thing using Selenium is quite difficult, number one. So difficult in the sense, I would say it's next to impossible, because as per industry standard we don't really practice that. If you still have a scenario where you want to if you still want to automate the captcha, what we do is we work closely with the dev team and we make sure that in the dev environment or test environment, the captcha is avoided so we can do the automation. So that's how it works. But then automating the captcha is really a challenging part, and the main motto of it is to avoid the automation. So uh, we can tweak our test in such a way that we don't have to go to the uh, captcha part. That is the best option at this point of time, we can say. uh, Sujit, also you can give
And
your
Mayur,
input.
like what we can do when you are working on some in-house product, I mean when you are testing some in-house product which is
Mm,
having captcha, so you can ask developer that give a code or give a set of application to you which having the bypassed captcha, because this will be difficult for you and it require your intervention every time, and that is where like automation will not beneficial.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So obviously we do automation only into the internal products, right? So at that point of time, we always recommend that you work closely with the dev team and ask them to remove the captcha when the point comes, so we can bypass it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, Mayur.
Yeah.
So
So
if
yeah,
you have if you noted here that once I launched the Chrome browser, okay. So I'll just give a small trick here. So you can see we are having the Chrome browser is being controlled by the automated desktop. And if you want to remove this, so as I said to you that we are having a little twist. Just give a Chrome profiling that Chrome option. Chrome, Chrome options give some name that OP is equal to new options. And now with these options, I am just passing it that I do not want to display the info bars. I mean that whatever info bar is there, I do not want to see. So we say that options dot. See that now message I'll give here that please add the argument that I do not want this info bar, so it is disable, disable info bar. Info. So this will hit your whatever the notification is being displayed there, so it will not be displayed. And now I given the Chrome option, so I have to pass this option to my Chrome driver. So here I will pass on that please use this profiling. This is the like this is profile I set for the Chrome, and I've given this profile to Chrome browser. So let's see and launch that driver dot get. If I launch here, this time I should not see the information that Chrome is being controlled by some external automated software. Did you see? It is removed now. This is your completely a set of Chrome browser as it is original. And you can see some notification that is being handled by the robot class. You may read more about robot class in like we may discuss, but you may practice at home that how to disable this notification and how to work. Just I'm giving you a hint that with the help of robot class, you may handle this.
yeah, so there is a further, like they can
Yeah,
explore
yeah.
it as per their requirement and what
Yes.
they want.
And before going to wind up about this basic of information about Selenium, I say that if you notice whatever browser I opened, it is displayed here. If I put the driver.quit, so driver will be basically get quit from my system, but the process will be remain inside the system memory. So there is a code for that. I would like appreciate if you use it so that whenever your execution finishes, the Chrome browser instance will get killed and your memory will get free. So basically, this is saying that this is the CMD command that task kill and I/im is some internal module is there and Chrome driver. I want Chrome driver to kill. That's all. This is the ready-made the CMD command. And to run CMD in Selenium or in Java, we use runtime.get runtime. This is method and then execute this one. So what happens that once you close this, my entire browser gets killed in the system memory and my browser gets free. That's all. So if I click here and I will show you the system memory also. Let's see the system. You can see here the Chrome browser. Can you see? This is my earlier browser. So let me click here
Hello, Sujit. Okay, it looks like the browser which is used for connection is closed. Anyway, so next question I would like to take it up is from Sriyansh. Where is the implementation of all these methods defined in WebDriver? So Sriyansh, for you can find all this implementation into source code of WebDriver. You can go to selenium.org and you can find out their source code and you can get all the information over there. Instead of downloading the library, you can download the source and you can get all the implementation inside that part. So that is the information for you. Next question, I have it from uh, Omkar, and he's asking how to set property for web element for usability. I'm sorry, we don't understand that question. So if you can reverse it, I'll reiterate that question uh, after the end of the presentation to the presenter. So I would like to move on to the next presenter. So our next presenter is Yogesh. So he's going to talk about introduction to. So he's going to talk about introduction to Selenium C Sharp, and he's working as a senior software QA engineer at ucreate.it. That is a really wonderful company. And we have also attached his LinkedIn profile, link to his LinkedIn profile. So once he's done with presentation, if you have any question, you can always ask him. Yogesh, over to you.
Good evening, all. So today, Tisha. So screen first. So what I think that Sujit have already covered about the basics of Selenium. So so the session was very good, very helpful, and thank you, Sujit, for the same. If you are there to listen me. So let's getting started with automation. Think something.
Yes, Yogesh, but your voice is breaking a bit. So
Now,
yes, we can. We are audible.
okay. Can you see my screen, Mayur?
Yes, we can see your screen.
I mean, there are a lot of things which Sujit have already covered.
Mhm.
First, what is Selenium? Selenium, Sujit have already covered with the basics architecture of like what Selenium is. It's an open source suite that is used for web application test automation. I mean, it can record your actions by, I mean, you can divide Selenium into 3-4 parts like Selenium ID, Selenium WebDriver, then Selenium RC. So record and play. I mean, whatever you're performing, the things you can record it on and then you can play it. I mean, that is a very good tool to start with as well. And other than scripting for the automated test flows, uses a test domain specific language that is Selenium. So this is already covered by Sujit. Like it can be written in number of popular programming languages like C, Java, PHP, Python, Ruby. It supports multiple browsers. It has been covered by Sujit as well. So what is Selenium WebDriver basically? Selenium WebDriver is used for creation of robust browser-based regression automation suites, which you have explained it already. So there are so many things which covered automatically in last session. So other than that, I want to make focus on like how Selenium WebDriver is working. So it accepts all the programmed commands, it sends them to the browser and interact with the HTML element of the page. So this is very important because Selenium WebDriver is, I mean, what you can do in manual testing. You can click on the things which are already there on the page. You can fill your fields, whatever the fields on your browser, and and you can click on enter buttons. So this is what you can do while doing manual testing. So this is all can be automated through Selenium WebDriver. So, I mean, but before driver can interact with the element, it needs to locate first. I mean, where that element is there. So the WebDriver method find element is a particular method which is used to locate the web elements on the HTML page. There are some locators in Selenium WebDriver, like Selenium WebDriver will be knowing like for which element you need to interact with. So let's take an example. Sub, like there are some locators: class name, tag name, link text, CSS. Today. So suppose you need to click on this field.
Yogesh, your voice is not audible. Are you there?
Now, Mayur,
Yes, we can hear you now.
talking like from, I mean, I don't know for how much time I was lost.
Okay, yeah. So you're talking about, how do I, what are the ways we can identify the element, that is ID, class, name, tag name, and then we also heard LinkedIn test, link test, and all this.
Okay, that's fine. So suppose we do have facebook.com, how we can test the form, which is email, password and login. So we can just enter something like in the field. We need our WebDriver to do the same as well. So you just inspect here. So this is all web elements I was talking about. This is name. Return is there. This is name. Are the web elements with which Selenium WebDriver will be interacting with this browser. I've already explained it. So why Selenium with C Sharp? So I mean, there was a very interesting session given by Sujit about Selenium with Java, and there are a lot of advantages of Java as well, and there are no much difference between the two, other than some of them. Like Selenium, getting started with Selenium with C Sharp is much easier than getting started with Java, and other than that, ease of setting up scripting or a running environment, because you don't have to uh, get the web drivers, I mean, the path of the particular drivers like Chrome driver, Firefox driver, and easy to generate reports with like report ng and the other tools. There was a question about the same from the audience as well. And like test ng, we can use any unit, and all the things are super easy. We can start with that. Like first of all, we'll be needing one IDE for it, for C Sharp. So you can download and install Visual Studio Community Edition. Just go to visualstudio.microsoft, install it, and after install, open a Visual Studio and create new project. So I mean, these slides are there for that. So let's do it practically here. Like Studio will be opening up like that. So just go to new, Studio C, test, your test project, and name it like software testing board. So it will take about like some couple of minutes to create the project. So there are no things like you have to set all the things. So, okay, so it is having all. I'm sorry, it is already open up. So what you can do with that, like you were adding all the things into the project in C. We do have manage UGET packages. There is no need to go to any Selenium website or to download the things and making the mapping with it. So we have to just go to manage UGET packages, click on it. It will open the interface of yes, UGET software uh, packaging. So what you need to do is you need to click on browse. So what we'll be needing with this, I mean, this is Visual Studio, which can write the code in C sharp, and we it can give the output whatever we want. So what we wanted to interact with Selenium WebDriver. So this is the first thing we'll be needing it. Just enter Selenium, and you'll be having a lot of things here. So this is Selenium support by Selenium committers. You have to install it. There are two actually you will be needing, but if you will install Selenium support, it will automatically install Selenium WebDriver. Just install it. So there is information like it is attempting to gather the dependency. Now it is getting, yeah. So it is finished. So let's check it. Just go to references, which is here, and check, yeah. This is Selenium WebDriver and this is WebDriver support. And what else will we needing about it? I mean, a browser, like we have given the path. I mean, we have downloaded the Chrome driver over there and we have mapped it here. So what we need to do here is just like write Chrome and click on enter. So this Selenium driver, Chrome driver, you can install it. And set to work with Selenium with C sharp now. There is no other need to download anything, map anything. Now we when you double click on unit test one, it will give you the code automatically, which have been generated by the testing framework which we have selected while working with it. So what we can do here is we can go to build and build solution to get the output of this particular, because there is just basic structure of it like which were there in the test ng. So there was notation of like at the rate test, and this is the same as like that test class, and this is test method. So yeah, we do have test method now. How you can validate it is working fine or not, just right click on it, select test. So there is nothing in it, so it will be passed by itself, just passed. So let's start writing a small code now. So like we were discussing about WebDriver. So there is just see of it. Equal to
Hey Yogesh, are you explaining anything? We can't hear you.
hello Mayur.
Yes, I can hear now.
So what was the last thing you have heard?
Yeah, we were just talking. You were talking. You started writing the code, so it was good.
Everything.
Yeah,
That's fine. Now it's fine.
yeah, this is good.
Okay, what we have done is we have added all the things in Selenium with Java. We have uh, Selenium WebDriver support and WebDriver. Then we have downloaded Chrome driver, and then we was having the basic structure driver, and we have passed it iWebDriver like we have done with Selenium with Java. Am I audible now, Mayur?
Yes, this is good.
Okay, that as like we were doing with Java, what we need to do is we need to initialize the WebDriver. So WebDriver is WebDriver. And you have to just add the dependency of this iWebDriver. Just mouse over on it. There will be show potential fixes. Using open you double click on it, it will add the dependency by itself. So here, just try it. Chrome driver over show potential fixes and add first Chrome driver. Mayur,
Yeah.
you getting my voice? Okay,
Yeah,
that's
but
fine.
there is a
Thank
lot
you.
of disturbance as well as there is sometimes your voice is going down. So
I don't know. I've just got a mail in the morning like there is some connection issue today for
okay,
Intel. I'm
okay,
sorry for that. Please
no
bother
problem.
me with that. Thank you. So here we have just initialized it. Now what you need to do is there are some methods here at like driver dot go to, or you can just like driver equal to get.
So Yogesh, can you do it this way? Because your voice is breaking a lot and we can't even hear you now. So can we just take up the same session next meetup or something? Is that possible?
Yeah, that'll be fine. Completely okay. I mean, it seems like a lot of things, and it seems like I'm off and where I was not saying anything. I was not, online. That's fine for me. That's okay.
Okay,
So I
because
mean,
we are not able to get you what you're talking, because of network issues. So
uh,
we can maybe we can just work on it for the next time.
don't worry.
Yeah.
Thank,
Thanks, Yogesh. Yeah.
thank you, man.
Yeah. All right. So sorry, guys. Yogesh is not available right now, as we see that he has a network issue at his end. So we'll move on to our next presenter. So next presentation is on introduction to DevOps. That is by Kishore. Kishore also uh, is a professional who teaches DevOps. So over to you, Kishore. You can start your presentation.
Hey, thanks, Mayur. You guys are able to hear me good?
Yes, you are clear.
Okay, thank you so much. Uh, I want to take this opportunity to talk about DevOps, and let me share my screen. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, thanks. So, as Mayur mentioned, my name is Kishore, and I'm here today to give you guys a brief introduction or an overview on DevOps. So start with let me start with the question. on what is DevOps. So DevOps is a combining power of both development and operations. So when the development team and the operations team or the release team work together, that combining power is called DevOps. And the DevOps team or the release team and the development team have only one goal, have one common goal, which is have code deployed in minutes, which means that once the developer checks in code into the source control system or into the source repository, it's a job of the DevOps team to make sure that change, which could be a new feature or it could be a set of defects which the developer has fixed. So it's a job of the DevOps team or the DevOps engineer to ensure that the code reaches the customer or the production environment within minutes. So that is what DevOps means. And there are many companies like Facebook, Amazon, who have exploited this concept of DevOps, and they've ensured that they will release one minor update in every 24 hours or one major update in every 7 days. And Amazon has gone much forward by releasing a new feature or making a change in production in 11.6 seconds. So without DevOps processes or without DevOps tools, it is impossible to think about releasing to the customer at this particular rate or frequency. We also have companies like Netflix and Flickr who do 4,000 deployments per day, and Flickr doing close to 10 deployments per day. So many releases per day, so many releases within an hour, so many releases within a few seconds. All this is not possible without having a strong DevOps process or without having a strong DevOps pipeline. Let me move on to my next slide. So here I want to just give you an overview about what is the pre-DevOps era, what we've been doing, and how DevOps changes whatever we've been doing. This is just a repetition from the previous slide on the frequency of deployments. So what I want to show here is the differences between the waterfall, agile, and the DevOps processes. If you have worked in a waterfall environment, you guys know that releasing something to the customer in 9 months is pretty common. But if we try to do that today, if we try to release an update to the customer, or if we try to provide a fix to the customer, and if we take 9 months, that's not acceptable today. Customers expect fixes and new features. Sorry. Customers expect fixes and new features within minutes and days, and all this is not possible without having a stable DevOps practice. And from the waterfall model, we all graduated to agile, where we shrink the release timelines from months to weeks. And now with DevOps, what we are saying is that timeline which is there in weeks should still reduce to hours and days. So we have evolved from the waterfall model to agile and DevOps. So what I meant here is, I'm not saying something that is taking 9 months to release has to be released in hours or days. What I'm trying to say is something that is taking 9 months to reach the customer. Let's say we are working on a waterfall model, and as a developer, I fix one defect today. After fixing the defect, it reaches the customer after 9 months. But that is not what we want in DevOps. In DevOps, if a defect is fixed or if a new feature is added to the source control by the developer, it should reach the customer as early as possible. So that is the frequency of deployments has increased, not the rate at which we develop software. So that is what I wanted to I wanted to mention in this slide. If you guys have no questions, I'll move on to the next slide. Mayur, do we have any questions?
No, we're good.
Okay, fine. Let me move on to the next slide, where I want to show you how all this can be done. Now we understand what is the goal of DevOps. We know what we were doing in waterfall model, how we graduated to Agile, and how we are evolving to DevOps. So the question now is, how can all this be achieved, or how companies like Amazon, Facebook, have achieved these kind of deployment rates? So the answer is very simple. It can be done in 4 different phases or 4 different stages. The first phase or the first stage is to have a stable automated testing suite. So without automation, you can't even think about DevOps, or it'll be wrong to talk about DevOps if you have not automated your tests. Manual testing has very little place. I'm not saying DevOps doesn't do manual testing, but manual testing has very little space in DevOps. So first you need to think about automating your tests. And once you have a stable automation suite, then we need to start thinking about continuous integration. And continuous integration paves way for continuous delivery, and then we can do the continuous deployment. So when I say continuous integration, what it means is the code, build, integration, and the test is automated. There is no manual intervention. The build is generated automatically. The new features or the branches get integrated and merged automatically, and test triggers automatically, and the reports are published automatically. Once we reach automation till here, it means that we have achieved continuous integration, or the team is CI enabled. Once the team is comfortable with CI, once the team sees a stable CI process, gets the benefits out of the CI, the team can think about continuous delivery. Continuous delivery is moving one step further, where not only the testing is automated, but the deployment to UAT, or deployment to staging, or deployment to pre-prod, whatever terminology you want to call it. So deployment to pre-prod is automated, and once the developer does the checks, does the check-in, series of tests get executed on the code. It could be unit tests, it could be API tests, it could be a Selenium UI tests, performance, security tests, static code analysis, content testing. So depending upon your test plan and test strategy, you continue to do whatever tests you want to perform, and then deploy it onto a UAT or a staging environment. So if you have achieved this phase, it means that you have successfully implemented continuous delivery. And continuous deployment goes one step further, where the change in the form of a new feature or a defect fix directly gets into the production environment after a series of checks. The only difference between continuous delivery and continuous deployment is the deployment to production is automated in case of continuous deployment, whereas deployment to production is still a manual step in case of continuous delivery. So that's the only difference between the delivery and deployment. And companies like Amazon, Facebook, Netflix, they've all successfully achieved continuous deployment, and they reach there only after having a solid automation base. Once they have implemented successful continuous integration procedures, they did continuous delivery for a while, and then did continuous deployment. So this is going to be the journey for any company or any team who wants to achieve success in DevOps. And I have another image here which depicts how DevOps is implemented. So I will start with the planning phase. So in the planning phase, a new feature is planned or a set of defects for fixing are planned by the product owner. Once the product owner decides what will go for a particular release, the development team starts coding it, starts writing code or fixing code in the new branch, the source code repository, and that branch of code gets built, gets integrated, and then gets tested, and then gets released to production. In the production environment, the new code developed by the developer or the changed code gets deployed, and that code is operational, or it needs to be monitored for a certain period of time to check if there are any failures, to check for customer feedback, and based on feedback for the customer, we'll plan the features or the fixes for the next iteration. So this is kind of a loop, and it keeps on continuing. It's an infinite loop, and this process keeps on continuing as long as the product owner has features in the backlog or the defects to be fixed. I'll move on to the next slide. I just want to list out a few important tools used by the DevOps practitioners. In the earlier slide, I talked about the different phases of DevOps, like planning, coding, building, testing, deployment, operations, and monitoring. So in this slide, I've just listed a few tools from each area. I've listed a few tools for planning, like Jira, a few tools for managing code bases like Git and Subversion, a couple of build tools like Maven and Ant and Gradle, a couple of test tools like Selenium, JUnit, NUnit, a few tools for continuous integration, Jenkins, Hudson, Bamboo. A lot of people use Jenkins. A couple of tools for deployment, for containerized deployment like Docker, Vagrant, Puppet, SaltStack, Ansible, and Chef. A few tools for operational maintenance and monitoring like ElkStack, Nagios, and Splunk. A lot of people use Nagios. So what I'm trying to do is I've picked up one tool from each section or each phase of the DevOps lifecycle and put it on this slide. The goal is to not learn all the tools. It's not possible for or I would like to say it's insane to think about learning all these tools. What I would suggest is pick up your areas of interest, or based on your roles and responsibilities, or where you want your career to go. Pick up a couple of phases from this slide, and then target only those tools, those standard tools which help achieve that particular phase. For example, I want to be comfortable in build, test, and deploy phases, the BDT phase. So what I would do is I would learn Maven, I would learn Selenium, I would learn JUnit, TestNG, Docker, and Puppet. So I would restrict myself to these set of tools. Let's say, for example, I want to become an operations guy, or I want to monitor production systems. I would learn ElkStack or Nagios or Splunk and Docker. I would restrict myself to only those set of tools. So it actually depends on what your career aspirations are and what you want to become. Based on that, you choose what DevOps phases you want to work with, and identify tools within that particular that particular area. And these tools work on an on-premise environment, and these tools also work on a cloud hosting environment. Let's say a company is using AWS or Amazon Web Services. There are add-ins or plugins of these tools available, which we can link with AWS services and achieve whatever we want to achieve with DevOps. So Microsoft Azure offers certain services for DevOps. Google Cloud Platform offers certain services for DevOps. There is another cloud offering called DigitalOcean. They also offer a certain DevOps tools. So basically, it all depends on what cloud environment your product has already been implemented on, and how you want to fasten the deployment process. So what I would do is I would first assess the existing development environment, existing release process, and based on what is missing, or based on what gaps are there in the release process, I would fill in those gaps using some of these tools. So that would be my strategy of implementing DevOps in any organization. So before getting into starting learning the tools, it is always better to do a DevOps assessment, understand where the gaps are, and then fill those gaps by making either technology changes or process changes or team changes. So it depends what kind of problems you're going to solve. And I have another interesting link called Periodic Table of DevOps Tools. This was developed by a company called Xavier Labs, and what they've done is they've come out with a set of they've listed all the tools in the form of a periodic table. So these are all the tools available if you want to implement DevOps, or if you want to do DevOps. Currently, so many tools are available in the market, and as I mentioned, it's insane to start with the tool here and end with the tool here. It doesn't make sense. So identify what areas you want to work on. Let's say you want to contribute in the development and source code management, or you want to contribute in testing, or you want to contribute in deployment and containerization, or you want to do monitoring. So depending upon which area you want to focus on, it is better to identify industry standard tools from that particular area and get started with learning those kind of tools. Let's say.
Can you share the link to this with us?
Sure, I'll do that. It's there in the slide. Is it not there in the slide? If it's not there in the slide, I will share it. Do you want me to do it now or post the session?
Yeah, I will take it off after the session. We can just post it in the link. Yeah.
Sure, I'll do that. So as I mentioned, you need to identify which areas you want to focus on and pick up tools from that particular area and get started with the tools. So before jumping into the tools, I would want you guys to understand what the DevOps process is. Try to understand what gaps are there in your current release process in your current organization, and then try to fill in those gaps instead of directly jumping into tools. So with that, let me move on to the next slide. Yeah, so this slide talks about how DevOps is done at Microsoft. So Microsoft also follows a standard DevOps process where a set of developers or a team of developers check in code into the source repository, and at periodic intervals, the code gets built and gets deployed into a container image. So it depends on your process whether you want to deploy it into a container or into a native server. So container deployment is picking up these days, and tools like Docker, Kubernetes, Docker Swarm. So these are the kind of tools people want to use to take the advantage of containerization. And once the container image is ready, it gets stored into a container registry, or this is like a repository where all the containers are saved. The QA engineer picks up the containers, does a testing. It could be manual, automation, performance, security, UI UX, depending upon your set of test cases. Those test cases gets executed, and once the tests are executed, the application gets deployed into a staging environment. From QA, the product moves into staging or UAT, and from UAT, after a set of approvals, it gets deployed into production. And anywhere, if anything is failed, let's say the source commit fails, or the build fails, or the image is down, or the container is down, the test fails, deployment staging fails, at any phase, if there is a failure, the pipeline goes back to the developer, and it again starts from building, testing, deployment, and before it reaches to production. And depending upon what kind of tests your product needs, you can increase your test stages or you can decrease your test stages. That is completely up to you and the nature of the product or the nature of the organization on how they want to do testing in a DevOps environment. I'll move on to the next slide. This is one of the implementation that we had done for an enterprise large-scale application. We implemented DevOps by first doing assessment service. We initially did an assessment, identified what their issues were, identified what they did well, what they were not doing well, and applied this kind of an implementation in their organization. So what this implementation talks about is we have a product owner who understands the business need, who understands the customer user stories. So it is the job of this guy to translate. It's the job of the product owner and the business analyst to translate those requirements to the dev team. The dev team, after understanding those use cases, try to understand the architecture of the system and convert those use cases or convert those user stories into code. And once those user stories are converted into code, the code gets checked into one of the source code repositories like Git. And after the code is checked in, the code gets checked out, built. We run automation scripts on top of it. All this is managed by Jenkins. And once the tests are complete, if the quality gate has been approved, the application gets deployed by using tools like Puppet and Chef. Now, the reason why people use Puppet is, let's say I want to deploy the application on 20 different servers. I want to deploy the new version of the app on 50 different servers with 50 different configurations. So it is easily possible through Puppet. You just have to write a very simple piece of code which does the deployment on 20 different machines. And once the deployment is done, we can monitor on how the application is behaving by using a monitoring tool called Microsoft System Center. Similar to Nagios, Elkstack, and Splunk, Microsoft has its own monitoring tool called Microsoft System Center. So we implemented that to understand what are the features which are most widely used by the user, what are the top 10 issues or errors the users face on a regular basis, what is the regular RAM consumption, what is the CPU usage. So all these details are very much required to understand the health of the system on production. And I think I'm done with this slide. I'll move on to the next. I'll move on to the next slide. Here I just want to show you what are the benefits of adopting or implementing DevOps. The first one is, as we have seen, the number of deployments to production or staging increases after implementing DevOps, which means that it's faster time to market, and we can expect higher quality of our applications due to continuous testing. So testing is not done only after coding or only at the time of release. It's a continuous process. Testing happens on a regular basis. You can have an extensive test pipeline implemented using different testing methodologies like unit testing, static analysis, UI testing using Selenium, API testing, DB testing. So you can implement all these testing phases in your DevOps pipeline, which will ensure that the product which is going out to the customer, which is getting deployed in the customer environment, is of high quality. Another important advantage of implementing DevOps is you can do something called A/B testing, and without DevOps, it is very difficult to think about these kind of tests. What A/B testing means is, at any point of time in the production environment, there will be two versions of the application running. So let's say for example, there is a new feature. There's an e-commerce app, and there's a new feature which is single-click checkout. Let's say the company wants to implement a single-click checkout. So instead of the user navigating to 4 different screens to check out from the store, the company implements a one-click checkout, and they want to find out how this is helping the users, whether it is really helping the users or not. So what they will do is they will release both the versions of the application to the customers. They will release the application with the one-click checkout and the traditional checkout process as well. So at any point of time, both the versions of the application will be running, both A and B. And they will have the monitoring team or the operations team find out how many people are using or successfully using the single checkout, and how many people are using the regular checkout process. And if the conversion rates are better, let's say the single click conversion rate is better, so they will replace the feature with a single click checkout. Otherwise, they will roll back that feature and try to make some tweaks or adjustments or fix that particular feature, and again release another feature for A/B testing. So it is very beneficial for companies to understand the pulse of the customers, to understand what the customers are liking, to understand their behavior patterns, and based on that, they will release features to the customers. So we will traditionally we were not even able to think about releasing two versions of the application to the customers. We were struggling releasing one version of the application to the customers. But now with DevOps, we are trying to release two different versions of the application to the end users. And another important term is called dark launching. what dark launching means is in any feature. Let me take the same example. We want to implement a single click checkout, and this particular feature, instead of releasing it to all the customers at once, we will first release it to 1% of the customers. And if the numbers are good, if the customers conversion rates are good, if more customers are using this particular feature, we will deploy it to next 5% of the users. From 1%, we increase it to 5% of the users, then go to 10%, then go to 50%. So this kind of deployment, which happens which happens in different stages, is called dark launching. And all these different strategies are not possible if we don't adopt DevOps. So these are the advantages of implementing DevOps. If you guys have no questions, I'll move on to the next slide, and which says thank you for giving me the time to present you my content today. And if you guys have the habit of reading books, I've just listed a few books here: The Phoenix Project, Accelerate, and Continuous Delivery. These books are really great. I've enjoyed and I've learned a lot using these with these books. So I recommend this group to read these books if you want to get more information on DevOps.
Thank you, Kishore. So we have a few questions for you.
Sure.
So first question, couple of questions we have it from Sunil Bhaskar,
Okay.
and he's asking like, what is the difference between Hudson, Jenkins, and Bamboo?
All three are continuous integration tools,
Mm-hmm.
and all three used for the same purpose. So that's a similarity. All the three are used for the same purpose. Each tool would have a different set of plugins. For example, if Jenkins has certain set of plugins to perform some tasks, Bamboo wouldn't have those plugins. So I would say it is like it is like Java, C# and Python. So what is the difference between Java, C# and Python? But all three are used for the same purpose. They're used to develop applications, and the only change is on how programming is done in these different languages. So similarly, if you want to implement continuous integration, you can use any of those three tools, but the kind of screen navigation and the kind of plugins it has varies. Otherwise, I would say all three tools are the same.
Okay, so basically those are like released by different developers and different set of brands, but apart from that, it's all do the same thing. Okay.
Exactly. That's right, man.
So there is another interesting question from Sunil. He's asking, what is the perfect set of tool or majority of set of tool, like combination of tool that the industry uses? Like, you said that in the previous slides that okay, uh, you talked about Bamboo, you talked about uh, Jenkins, you also talked about yes, this slide, like Jira, and then JUnit, Selenium, and also we have Jenkins, and then after that we have deployment tool like Docker. So what is the perfect combination of tool over here?
Yeah. So the answer is there is no perfect combination. It all depends on the nature of the product, the kind of used for development. Depends on the skill set the existing team has. Each tool has its own pros and cons. Now, let's say, for example, it's a Java application, and the team is completely into Java. Then you might use Maven, Jenkins, and things like that. If your company is completely into .NET, if it's a .NET stack, people would go for Microsoft Azure. So there is no one standard set of tools that you could implement. So it all depends on it all depends on the nature of the product, the nature of your organization, and basically depends on what your teams like. That's what I would say.
Okay. So next question is from Diva Suganti, and she's asking, what are the tools required for a tester to be part of DevOps?
Yeah, as I mentioned, DevOps has many different phases. So you first need to identify which phase you want to get involved in, whether you want to get involved in build and testing and deployment, or you want to get involved in deployment, operation, and monitoring. So it first depends on what your interests are, and depending upon your interests, you can pick
So she is
skills
talking
from.
about she wants to get into testing. So what will be
Okay.
the ideal choice for her?
Okay. Testing, I would suggest first get solid understanding of OOPS concepts and any programming language like Java, C Sharp, or Python. And once your OOPS concepts are strong, get into UI testing, API testing, or unit testing. So I think UI testing would be a good start, and then slowly move into BDD like Cucumber and API testing using REST assured or REST sharp. I think these tools are good.
Yeah. So for a start, maybe we can start with Selenium with Java, and then we can
Correct.
move on to the different part, as you said,
Correct.
right? Okay.
That's right.
So I hope that answered the question, Diva. And next question again from Diva, and she's asking, in what way DevOps is better than Agile? That's a good question.
Uh, Agile, I would say, whatever deficiencies were there in Agile, uh, we have we just fixed those and we moved into DevOps. So just bringing teams more closer and with more collaboration. I would say add a few more features to Agile and it becomes DevOps. And shortened release cycles. Whatever we were releasing in 2 week sprints or 4 week sprints, those release cycles get shortened, and we make sure that we have a release every other day. Every single day we have a release. So that's the difference between Agile and DevOps.
So basically, so it will speed up the process for you, right? That's what I meant.
Exactly. So let's say, for example, I have a defect which is already fixed by the developer, and for the defect to reach the customer in case of an agile environment, it would take at least 3 to 4 weeks.
Right.
But what we are in DevOps, what we are preaching is this delay, this 3 to 4 weeks delay is not acceptable in DevOps. Once the developer fixes that particular defect, it should reach the customer within a few hours or maximum by a day. So that is the goal of DevOps.
So can we say uh, DevOps is a kind of automating the whole agile process? Is it feasible to
Exactly.
say?
That's the right term you coined, Mayur. The entire release process, automating your entire release process is nothing but DevOps. So in
Okay.
case of Selenium, we just talk about test automation, but in case of DevOps, we talk about the entire release automation.
Right. So it even includes the deploying the code and testing it, and then making sure that it works fine. If there is an issue, it will automatically log the errors, and all these things will be
It will automatically log the errors and it will automatically roll back. If there
right.
are too many issues in the operations environment, the feature automatically gets rolled back.
Right. Cool. So I guess that's all. Anybody have any question? Feel free to ask. Thank you so much, Kishore, and Sujit also uh, dropped off in middle of things. So if you have any question, uh, if you guys on the audience, if you have any question, feel free to ask related to Selenium with Java. As you can see, you will be able to have a you should be seeing the live chat box next to your video, or if you're using mobile phone, it will be beneath your video. So just use that, and if you have any question, we'll be still around for a while I'll talk about next slide. So if you have any question, feel free to put it here. So thank you to the presenters, Sujit and Kishore. Yogesh unfortunately couldn't continue because of the network issues, so we'll bring him uh, next meetup for sure. So move on to our next thing. We have, apart from software testing board, apart from this meetup, we also have a question and answer site. You might have heard about the Quora and Stack Overflow. So this is another dedicated question and answer site for software testing professionals. So using this site is very simple. You can go to softwaretestingbot.com/Q&A, and here is the panel you can log in. If you are not registered, you can go to you can click on register using email ID, and you can register yourself, enter username, password, and email ID, enter the captcha, and it will uh, you can follow the process. So since I'm already logged in, I can enter my username. My username is typically my email ID. I have to go to login, and as you can see, I'm logged into the site. And as soon as you log in, you will see the home page. So here you can ask a question. Once you register, you can ask a question, answer any question, or you can also comment on a question. For example, this is the recent question that is asked by uh, okay, it is asked by Sharma, X Sharma. So he has encountered some error, and this is the question asked by him. So this is the question title, and this is the detailed body of the question. You can post your answer, or if you don't, if you need more information about the question, you can click on comment and you can ask a question. You can ask a counter question. If you want to ask your own question, you can go to ask a question. You can click on this ask a question button, and after you register and log in, and you can post your question in one sentence. This is the body of this, so you can give more and more information about your question. Like if you are encountering technical error, you can post your code and the technical error that you're facing, and you can also properly tag it here so that it will be distributed to the people who are following the tag. And these are the other menu items that you can explore, especially the tags part. So if you just, for example, if you want to follow the tag Selenium WebDriver, you can just click on it and it will turn green. And when you follow this tag, if anybody asks a question with the tag Selenium WebDriver, you will receive an email. So you can come back to the site and you can ask and you can answer the question. Similar way, you will be also getting the weekly digest of the question, tags that you follow. So as you can see, there is another technical question asked by Sharma, and there is a couple of answers you can see here. Uh, you can click on comment to comment on answer. If you have any more feedback or things to be commented on answer, you can utilize this box. Everything to do all these activities, make sure that you are registered, and so you'll be able to utilize this site. So I would suggest you to explore this site, and this is pretty much simple and straightforward. I would say if you know how to use Facebook, you can use this site. And our next site is meetup site. So whatever presentation and whatever the meetups that we have done so far, everything is available on YouTube. So uh, and the same presentation that is being used on all these meetups are consolidated into softwaretestingbot.com/meetup site. So as you can see, our previous meetup was about shell scripting to test volume of SEO pages, and Selenium for UI automation. This was our last meetup. So you can see the recorded video from the video that is directly embedded here. And also you can see the important links that are being used in this presentation, and also the presentation that we have hosted on a slideshare, and that is already embedded here. So the idea is that the idea is that you know it is all consolidated, so this is one stop place for you to explore all the meetups that we have conducted so far. And if you have any question, you can always post your in the uh, discussion part here, and we'll be able to answer that question. So, how do you become a speaker? So, as you can see, the presenters have beautifully presented their presentation. So, if you are into testing, and if you are working on something new, or if you want to portray your uh, technology that you are working on, just go to this slide and fill up this form. The same link is also present in this video description. You can see it here. So you can go and click on this, and you can fill this form. So once you fill up this form, we'll contact you, uh, and we'll ask you more information about you, and we'll allocate a slot for you for our next meetup. So how do you subscribe to our YouTube? So if you have if you have got this link to this video through uh, which is shared on a social media, what you can do is you can go to YouTube and search for software testing board, and will see our software testing board, and you will see the channel listed over here. You can just click on subscribe and press the bell icon. So next time when we start a meetup, you will be notified through YouTube. So that's all from our end. I'll see if we have any tech questions. Yes, we do have few questions. One is from Ankita. So Ankita has a question on a DevOps. So that is for Kishore. Kishore, this is a question for you.
Okay.
So hi, is there any drawback of DevOps, and will it work for complex project which has 40 modules? That is a question by Ankita.
The DevOps doesn't depend upon the size of your application. If you have 400 modules, you can definitely implement DevOps. But if the question is, does DevOps has any drawbacks? Yes, definitely. Any process has its own pros and cons. If you are trying to do more number of releases, which is not required. Let's say the customer doesn't need those releases. The customer is happy with one release in 3 months, and you give him a release every day after implementing DevOps. That's definitely a bad thing to do. So I've seen places where I've seen organizations where waterfall still works like a charm, and they don't need any DevOps processes. So definitely DevOps doesn't work everywhere, but if it is worked for Amazon, if it is working for Facebook, it's working for companies like Netflix, Flickr, and if it's working for these kind of companies, I'm sure it should work for majority of the companies. So that's my answer to that question.
So it's more like if you doing something what is intended to do, it's good, but if you do overdo something, it is always bad for
Yeah,
the
exactly.
process. So we shouldn't be
Exactly.
doing overdoing it. Uh, we should be doing only what is required. So that is the answer to your question, Ankita. Raghu Yadav is there, and he's thanking you, Kishore, for a very well presentation. So that's a feedback.
Thanks, Raghu. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Raghu. And we don't have any more question from the people who are online. So that's all from today. Thank you, Kishore. And Sujit also is online, but we don't have any question for him. So
Uh,
thank you.
Thanks, Mayur, and thanks, community.
And thanks everybody for the being part of this. And uh, any feedback, always welcome. Please feel free to put it on a YouTube, or there are various way you can contact us. So you can always give us your feedback, and we can improvise it more and more. So thank you everyone. Bye bye for now. See you in the next meetup.
Thanks. Bye.